Welcome back to another video. We're going to take a look at how we can animate an exploded view of the following stepper motor. So we have a NEMA 17 over here. We're going to see that the model has been downloaded by quite a lot of people. I will also leave the link for the model over here. Keep in mind that this will be available within a step file format. So if you want to import that within Blender, you will have to convert that. I already converted mine into an OBJ. So if I will jump over here within Blender, if I will go to File, Import, Wavefront OBJ, and I will go within the Download folder, I'm gonna see that I have the NEMA file over here. So if I will hit the Import button, we're gonna see that I will have to zoom out because the stepper motor has been scaled quite a lot. So as we can see, this has been scaled 1,000 times. That means we need to revert the scaling. Therefore, I will press S in order to start the scaling. And for the value, I will add 0.001. Afterwards, I will hit enter. And now if I will press on the numpad comma button, this will take me zoom in towards the selected element, which in this case is the NEMA stepper motor that we imported. If I will zoom out, I'm gonna see that the default cube within Blender has 2 meters. If I will delete that, I will select it, press on the delete. We're gonna have the NEMA stepper motor over here. If you want to measure this, for example, with the measure tool, I will enable the snapping. So somewhere over here from the top, I will hold the left click all the way to the bottom. We're gonna see that this will have roughly around 43 millimeters. So this is the correct size of the object. Now, if I will take a look from the top, we're gonna see that the model will not be aligned to the origin. If I will select everything and if I will press N in order to open the side panel over here, I will go over here within the view. Within the view, we are going to control the camera position. But over here for the tool, as we can see for the workspace, if I will only select a single element, we're also going to have the option to go over here within item. So within the item, we're going to have the location of those. And also we're going to have the dimensions over here. Now, since this is a CAD model, if, for example, I will select the pulley over here, we're going to see that the origin will be set in the middle where we have the cursor. That means if I will select the pulley, I will press R for rotation. If I will select the axis, for example, Z, and I will rotate it, I'm going to see that the rotating axis is not aligned over here. So I will press escape. I can do the following. I can select all the elements over here. Afterwards, go to Object, Set Origin. And over here within the Set Origin, we can specify that we want the origin of each individual component to be to the center of mass. We can go, in this case, with surface. And now, if I will select the pulley, I'm going to see that the pivot point will be positioned over there. Therefore, if I will press R for rotation, Z, the pulley will rotate like this. The same will be for the shaft. Over here, we're going to have this hex screw. If I will rotate this, let's see, the axis for this one will be along X like this, along Y like this, and along Z like this. So we're going to see that over here, we're going to need to swap towards the local axis, but we're going to see how we're going to change that, because by default, we can change the transformation orientation over here at the top. So we have the global, local, and the others. But if you want to also visualize it within the viewport, we're going to need to expand the gizmo over here, and we're going to have to activate it over here. So if you want the rotation gizmo to be displayed, we're going to enable that. The move rotation and also the scale. And afterwards, we're gonna see that the local will not be set over here. So in this case, we should set this using the cursor. And afterwards, if I will jump over here within the view, we're gonna have the position of the 3D cursor over here. If I will jump within the top view by pressing 7, we're gonna see the orientation of this. So this is set to the 3D cursor, and we're gonna have the rotation over here. And in this case, we need to align it on an axis. I will select it to be like this. So we see over here that I added 49 degrees. I will just add 50 to round that up, because I see that with 50 this will be quite around the middle. And afterwards, if I will go over here and have this rotated on the y-axis, so press R, afterwards Y, we're gonna see that it will rotate like this, because this is set to local. So I will change this to be according to the cursor. And now we see the difference. If I will rotate this around the y-axis, it will actually rotate around that that green circle over here. So keep that in mind, because within Blender, the transformation orientation is a little bit trickier. So you need to define it. You can select over here, but you also need to define it within this section. So object gizmo currently set to cursor. And afterwards, keep in mind that I expanded the view, I expanded the 3D cursor, and I added the rotation. So that will actually rotate the pivot point of the object. Okay, so let's define the animation now. I will slightly expand this, and I want the animation initially to have this hex screw translated. So I'll go over here, I will enable the move. Since this is set to cursor, I have the possibility to move it along the axis that goes through the, let's say, to the cylindric shape of the screw. Therefore, I will add a keyframe over here. I want this to be for translation. Therefore, I will press G on the keyboard, press enter to add that keyframe over here. We're gonna see that this will be in yellow. And now we can go within a timeline to the desired keyframe. So for example, maybe I want this to be all the way around 30. So we see this will be the frame number 30. If you're gonna go for an animation that will use 30 frames per second, this will actually be the equivalent of 1 second of animation. And now I can do the translation. So I will press G, Y. We're gonna see that this will move along the cursor over here. If I'm gonna press Y again, this will take me over here. And as we can see, we won't have that translation done. I will also remove the snapping. And now we're gonna see that if I will move it like this, I have the possibility to add that movement. So again, if I will just press G and Y, this will work since I disabled the snapping. So keep that in mind. And over here, for example, we're gonna see the value at the top. I will leave it like this. So minus, if you want to add specific dimensions, you can just type in from the numpad, minus 0.07, for example. Afterwards, hit enter, and we're gonna see that on the timeline from 0 to 30 over here, we're gonna have that animation. We can always go back and decide if we want to change that. For example, if I will select this this shape over here, this keyframe, and I will move it, this will move the whole animation. So if you only want to move the end of this, you will need to hold down Shift, select that element, and afterwards you can move it. So for example, if I will move it over here on 10, now the whole animation, so the whole translation of the screw will be between 0 and 10 over here. So keep that in mind. You can do those rectangle selections. If you want this to be a little bit slower, for example, 0 to 60, if I will press space, now this will take 2 seconds in order to complete that the translation at a frame rate of 30 frames per second. So after we have this screw removed, I also want to move the pulley over here. So maybe around frame 15, I will go over here. It's important to keep the mouse cursor within the viewport, because if you're gonna just keep it over here and want to insert that location, it will not take that. So press G, afterwards enter. We have the initial position, and afterwards, for example, all the way over here to 40, I want this pulley to be pulled over here on the distance of 0.05. We can now check the animation that we have done over here, and we see how those components will go. If I will select the shaft now, I can start an animation for this as well. So press again G, enter, go within a timeline. For example, around 40, I would like this shaft to be positioned way to the top. So 0.1, for example. And we're gonna have that animation. So we have the pulley, and afterwards the shaft will pass through that. Now I want to remove the top section of the cover over here. Keep in mind that this model is not in detail, so we don't have the interior components of the stepper motor. We're just gonna have the geometry for the outer casing over here. For example, we're gonna have these screws over here on the bottom. We see the naming, so this will be circular pattern. We can hold down Shift and select multiple elements. And afterwards we can do the animation for all of those. So maybe somewhere starting over here, I will press G, I will press an enter, and all the way to frame 60, I will hold down the grab and I will move all of those over here. Okay, and if I will check that animation, we're gonna have the following animation over here. We can also add rotation for all of those if we want to. And I highly encourage you to give this a try and try to do your own animation. So maybe now I want to remove the casing over here, so I will select this, press G to grab it, go within a timeline, and somewhere around 70, for example, I want this to be positioned over there. And at the same time, I would like this to be rotated. So I will go over here within the global axis. I will swap this one to be again to the global axis, and we see how that changed. Keep in mind that only for that hex we decided to change that, since we didn't have that local axis. But for this one, we are not gonna need that. I will go within frame 30, and I will press R for rotation. And all the way to frame 70, I will want this to rotate maybe 180 degrees. So type in on the numpad, and afterwards you can check the animation. So we see this will be overlapped with the translation. So starting from frame 30, we're gonna have that move along the z-axis, but at the same time it will slowly rotate. So we're gonna see the rotation value over here on the z-axis being transformed. So it will add all the way from 0 to 180. We can do some overlaps if you want to speed it up in some places, so you can always go and rewrite those keyframes over here. And if you want to animate the other components, we're going to have the top section over here. Again, maybe I want this to start a little bit faster, so I will go within a timeline, maybe somewhere over here. So press G, enter, go within a timeline, and all the way to frame 40, I would like this to be positioned over there. Now if I will check the animation, we're gonna have those added. I will not continue with the following one, because as you can see, this will be just a pad, and on the bottom, again, we're gonna have this section, and another pad with some cutouts, but we don't actually have that interior modeled. Okay, so now if I will just press space, this will start the animation, And now if I want to take this animation and, for example, take it to Unity or Unreal Engine, we can easily do that by using the FBX file format over here. So export FBX, we can select the location of that. We can also limit this only to the selected objects, because otherwise we're going to take towards Unity also the camera and the lighting, but this will be within a following video that I want to create over here. Okay, so that's it. I hope that you find this video useful. Consider to give this video a like, or also consider to subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. So that's it. Thanks for watching.